Welcome to the 2023 ASVAB General Science Practice Test. This test will have 40 questions with explained answers that will help you prepare for the test. Be sure to boot that like button by turning it white. Now here's your ASVAB instructor to walk you through the questions.
Question 1. What is the difference between a physical change and a chemical change, and how can you distinguish between them? A. Physical changes are reversible, while chemical changes are irreversible. B. Physical changes involve a change in the chemical composition of a substance, while chemical changes do not. C. Physical changes involve a change in the state or form of a substance, while chemical changes involve a rearrangement of atoms. D. Physical changes involve the release or absorption of energy, while chemical changes do not. The correct answer is C. Physical changes involve a change in the state or form of a substance, while chemical changes involve a rearrangement of atoms. In a physical change, the substance remains the same chemically, but its physical appearance or state changes. For example, melting ice is a physical change because the substance, water, remains the same chemically, but its state changes from solid to liquid. In a chemical change, the substance undergoes a chemical reaction that results in a new substance with different chemical properties. For example, burning wood is a chemical change because the wood reacts with oxygen to produce new substances, carbon dioxide and water vapor, with different chemical properties than the original wood. Question 2. What is the structure of an atom, and how do the properties of atoms determine the behavior of matter? A. Atoms are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons, and their properties determine how they bond with other atoms. B. Atoms are made up of electrons and protons, and their properties determine their mass and density. C. Atoms are made up of protons and neutrons, and their properties determine their chemical reactivity. D. Atoms are made up of electrons and neutrons, and their properties determine their energy levels. The correct answer is A. Atoms are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons, and their properties determine how they bond with other atoms. Atoms are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. Protons and neutrons are located in the nucleus, while electrons orbit the nucleus in shells or energy levels. The properties of atoms, such as their number of electrons, determine how they bond with other atoms to form molecules. For example, atoms with 1 or 2 electrons in their outermost shell tend to give up or gain electrons to achieve a stable electron configuration, while atoms with 7 or 8 electrons in their outermost shell tend to gain electrons to achieve stability. These properties determine how atoms react with each other and ultimately determine the behavior of matter. Question 3. What are the 3 states of matter, and how do they differ in terms of their physical properties and behavior? A. Solid, liquid, gas. B. Solid, liquid, plasma. C. Liquid, gas, plasma. D. Solid, gas, plasma. The correct answer is A. Solid, liquid, gas. The 3 states of matter are solid, liquid, and gas. Solids have a definite shape and volume, while liquids have a definite volume but no fixed shape, and gases have neither a definite shape nor volume and will fill any container they are placed in. Question 4. What is the law of conservation of energy, and how does it apply to different forms of energy, such as potential energy and kinetic energy? A. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can change forms. A. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can change forms. B. Energy can be created but not destroyed, and it can change forms. C. Energy can be destroyed but not created, and it can change forms. D. Energy can be both created and destroyed, but it cannot change forms. The correct answer is A. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can change forms. The law of conservation of energy states that the total amount of energy in a closed system remains constant and cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change from one form to another. For example, potential energy can be converted to kinetic energy and vice versa, but the total amount of energy remains constant. Question 5. What is the process of photosynthesis, and how does it convert light energy into chemical energy for plants and other organisms? A. The process by which organisms produce light energy. B. The process by which organisms convert chemical energy into light energy. C. The process by which organisms produce chemical energy from light energy. D. The process by which organisms produce light energy from chemical energy. The correct answer is C. The process by which organisms produce chemical energy from light energy. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants and some other organisms convert light energy into chemical energy stored in the bonds of glucose molecules. Chlorophyll, the pigment in plant cells that absorbs light energy, plays a key role in this process. Question 6. What is the difference between a virus and a bacteria, and how do they interact with living organisms? A. Bacteria is larger and more complex than viruses, and both can cause disease in living organisms. B. Bacteria are single-celled organisms while viruses are not considered alive, and both can cause disease in living organisms. C. Bacteria are multi-cell organisms while viruses are single-celled, and only viruses can cause disease in living organisms. D. Bacteria and viruses are the same thing, and both can cause disease in living organisms. The correct answer is B. Bacteria are living-celled organisms, while viruses are not considered alive, and both can cause disease in living organisms. Bacteria are living, single-celled organisms that can reproduce on their own and are larger and more complex than viruses. Viruses, on the other hand, are not considered living organisms because they cannot reproduce on their own and require a host cell to do so. Both bacteria and viruses can cause disease in living organisms, but they interact with their hosts in different ways. Question 7. What is the difference between a dominant gene and a recessive gene, and how do they determine traits in offspring? A. Dominant genes are always expressed, while recessive genes are only expressed in the presence of a dominant gene. B. Dominant genes are only expressed in the presence of a recessive gene, while recessive genes are always expressed. C. Dominant genes and recessive genes are always expressed equally in offspring. D. Dominant genes and recessive genes are never expressed in offspring. The correct answer is A. Dominant genes are always expressed, while recessive genes are only expressed in the presence of a dominant gene. In genetics, dominant genes are those that are always expressed when present, while recessive genes are only expressed when paired with another recessive gene. This is due to the fact that dominant genes can mask the expression of recessive genes. The specific combination of dominant and recessive genes determines an individual's traits. Question 8. What is the process of mitosis, and how does it enable cells to divide and replicate? A. The process by which cells divide into two identical daughter cells with half the number of chromosomes. B. The process by which cells divide into two identical daughter cells with the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. C. The process by which cells divide into 4 identical daughter cells with the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. D. The process by which cells fuse together to form a single, larger cell with twice the number of chromosomes as the parent cell. The correct answer is B. The process by which cells divide into 2 identical daughter cells with the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Mitosis is the process by which cells divide and replicate, resulting in 2 identical daughter cells with the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. The process is important for growth, repair, and regeneration of cells in the body. Mitosis is divided into several stages, including prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, each of which plays a specific role in the division process. Question 9. What is the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell, and how do their structures and functions differ? A. Plant cells have a cell membrane, while animal cells have a cell wall. B. Plant cells have a nucleus, while animal cells do not. C. Plant cells have chloroplasts and a cell wall, while animal cells do not. D. Plant cells have mitochondria, while animal cells do not. The correct answer is C. Plant cells have chloroplasts and a cell wall, while animal cells do not. One major difference between plant and animal cells is that plant cells have chloroplasts, which are responsible for photosynthesis, while animal cells do not. Additionally, plant cells have a cell wall made of cellulose, which provides structural support, while animal cells have a cell membrane, which allows for movement and communication. Question 10. What is the process of digestion, and how do different organs in the digestive system work together to break down food and extract nutrients? A. The process by which food is absorbed into the bloodstream and transported throughout the body. B. The process by which food is broken down into smaller molecules that can be absorbed by the body. C. The process by which food is converted into energy for the body to use. D. The process by which food is eliminated from the body as waste. The correct answer is B. The process by which food is broken down into smaller molecules that can be absorbed by the body. Digestion is the process by which food is broken down into smaller molecules that can be absorbed by the body. This process occurs in the digestive system, which includes organs such as the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Each organ plays a specific role in the digestion process, with enzymes and other digestive juices breaking down food into smaller molecules that can be absorbed by the body. Nutrients are then transported to the cells throughout the body via the bloodstream, while waste is eliminated through the rectum and anus. Question 11. What is the difference between a renewable resource and a non-renewable resource, and what are some examples of each? A. Renewable resources can be replenished over time, while non-renewable resources cannot be replenished. B. Non-renewable resources can be replenished over time, while renewable resources cannot be replenished. C. Renewable and non-renewable resources are interchangeable terms. D. Renewable and non-renewable resources are both finite and cannot be replenished. The correct answer is B. Renewable resources can be replenished over time, while non-renewable resources cannot be replenished. Renewable resources are those that can be replenished over time, such as solar energy, wind energy, and biomass. Non-renewable resources, on the other hand, are those that cannot be replenished, such as fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas. Question 12. What is the role of enzymes in biochemical reactions? And how do they catalyze chemical reactions in living organisms? A. Enzymes provide energy for biochemical reactions. B. Enzymes regulate the speed of biochemical reactions. C. Enzymes create new molecules during biochemical reactions. D. Enzymes are not involved in biochemical reactions. The correct answer is B. Enzymes regulate the speed of biochemical reactions. Enzymes are proteins that act as catalysts in biochemical reactions, meaning they increase the rate of chemical reactions without being consumed or changed in the process. Enzymes work by binding to specific molecules, called substrates, and converting them into new products. The specificity of enzymes allows them to perform specific biochemical reactions, and their efficiency in catalyzing these reactions is essential for the normal functioning of living organisms. Question 13. What is the difference between an acid and a base, and how do their properties affect the pH of a solution? A. Acids are bitter and bases are sour. B. Acids have a pH greater than 7, while bases have a pH less than 7. C. Acids have a pH less than 7, while bases have a pH greater than 7. D. Acids and bases both have a pH of 7. The correct answer is C. Acids have a pH less than 7, while bases have a pH greater than 7. Acids are substances that release hydrogen ions, H+, in solution, while bases are substances that release hydroxide ions, OH- in solution. The pH scale measures the acidity or basicity of a solution, while a pH of 7 being neutral, a pH less than 7 being acid, and a pH greater than 7 being basic. Acids and bases can react with each other to form salts and water, and their properties can affect the chemical and biological processes in living organisms. Question 14. What is the difference between a food chain and a food web, and how do they illustrate the relationships between organisms in an ecosystem? A food chain is a single pathway of energy, while a food web includes multiple interconnected food chains. B. A food web is a single pathway of energy flow, while a food chain includes multiple interconnected food webs. C. A food chain includes only producers, while a food web includes only consumers. D. A food web includes only primary consumers, while a food chain includes only secondary consumers. The correct answer is A. A food chain is a single pathway of energy flow, while a food web includes multiple interconnected food chains. A food chain is a linear pathway of energy flow in which organisms are grouped into trophic levels based on their feeding relationships. For example, plants are producers that form the base of the food chain, followed by primary consumers, herbivores, secondary consumers, carnivores that eat herbivores, and so on. A food web, on the other hand, includes multiple interconnected food chains, showing the complex feeding relationships between different organisms in an ecosystem. Food webs illustrate how energy and matter are transferred between different trophic levels, and how changes in one part of the ecosystem can affect other parts of the ecosystem. Question 15. What is the greenhouse effect, and how does it contribute to global climate change? A natural phenomenon that has no impact on global climate change. B. A man-made process that does not contribute to global climate change. C. The process by which greenhouse gases trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere, contributing to global climate change. D. The process by which greenhouse gases cool the Earth's atmosphere, mitigating global climate change. The correct answer is C. The process by which greenhouse gases trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere, contributing to global climate change. When sunlight enters the Earth's atmosphere, some of it is reflected back into space, while the rest is absorbed and re-emitted as heat by the Earth's surface. Greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane trap some of this heat, preventing it from escaping into space and causing the Earth's temperature to rise. Question 16. What is the difference between a predator and a prey, and how do they interact in a biological community? A. Predators are animals that are hunted by other animals, while prey are animals that hunt other animals. B. Predators are animals that hunt other animals, while prey are animals that are hunted by other animals. C. Predators and prey are both types of scavengers that feed on dead animals. D. Predators and prey do not interact in a biological community. The correct answer is B. Predators are animals that hunt other animals, while prey are animals that are hunted by other animals. The relationship between predators and prey is one of the most important in any biological community. Predators rely on prey for food, while prey try to avoid being eaten by predators. This constant struggle for survival shapes the behavior and characteristics of both predators and prey as they adapt to outsmart one another. Question 17. What is the difference between a genotype and a phenotype, and how do they relate to the expression of traits in an organism? A. A genotype is an organism's physical appearance, while a phenotype is a genetic makeup. B. A genotype is an organism's genetic makeup, while a phenotype is its physical appearance. C. A genotype and a phenotype are the same thing. D. A genotype and a phenotype have no relation to the expression of traits in an organism. The correct answer is B. A genotype is an organism's genetic makeup, while a phenotype is its physical appearance. Genotype refers to the specific genetic information an organism inherits from its parents, while phenotype is the expression of those genes as physical traits. While genotype determines the potential range of traits an organism can display, phenotype is the actual observable manifestation of those traits. Question 18. What is the process of osmosis, and how does it enable water to move through cell membranes? A. Osmosis is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, enabling water to move through cell membranes by active transport. B. Osmosis is the movement of particles from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration, enabling water to move through cell membranes by passive transport. C. Osmosis is the movement of water from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, enabling water to move through cell membranes by passive transport. D. Osmosis is the movement of water through an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration, enabling water to move through cell membranes by active transport. The correct answer is C. Osmosis is the movement of water from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, enabling water to move through cell membranes by passive transport. Osmosis is a type of diffusion that allows water to move through selectively permeable membranes, such as the cell membrane. Water moves through an area of high concentration, low solute concentration, to an area of low concentration, high solute concentration, in order to balance the concentration gradient. Question 19. What is the difference between a herbivore, a carnivore, and an omnivore, and how do their diets differ? A. Herbivores eat only meat, carnivores eat only plants, and omnivores eat both meat and plants. B. Herbivores eat only plants, carnivores eat only meat, and herbivores eat both meat and plants. C. Herbivores and carnivores eat only plants, while omnivores eat both meat and plants. D. Herbivores and carnivores eat only meat, while omnivores eat only meat and plants. The correct answer is B. Herbivores eat only plants, carnivores eat only meat, and omnivores eat both meat and plants. Herbivores have adapted to a diet of only plants, which are typically high in fiber and carbohydrates. Carnivores, on the other hand, have adapted to a diet of meat, which is high in protein and fat. Omnivores, such as humans, have the ability to consume and digest both plant and animal matter. Their diets can vary depending on factors such as cultural or personal preferences, but generally consist of a mix of both plants and animal products. Question 20. What is the process of meiosis, and how does it enable cells to divide and produce gametes for sexual reproduction? A. Meiosis is a type of cell division that produces two identical daughter cells, enabling cells to reproduce asexually. B. Meiosis is a type of cell division that produces four genetically diverse daughter cells, enabling cells to reproduce sexually. C. Meiosis is a type of cell division that produces four identical daughter cells, enabling cells to reproduce asexually. D. Meiosis is a type of cell division that produces two genetically diverse daughter cells, enabling cells to reproduce sexually. The correct answer is B. Meiosis is a type of cell division that produces four genetically diverse daughter cells, enabling cells to reproduce sexually. Meiosis is the process by which cells divide and produce gametes for sexual reproduction. During meiosis, the chromosomes of the parent cell are replicated and then divided into four daughter cells, each containing a unique combination of genetic information from the parent cells. This allows for genetic diversity in the offspring. Question 21. What is the difference between a gene and an allele, and how do they determine traits in offspring? A gene is a specific trait, while an allele is a variation of that trait. B. A gene is a section of DNA that codes for a specific protein, while an allele is a variant form of a gene. C. A gene and an allele are the same thing. D. A gene is a type of cell, while an allele is a type of tissue. The correct answer is B. A gene is a section of DNA that codes for a specific protein, while an allele is a variant form of a gene. Genes are the basic units of heredity and determine the traits an organism inherits from its parents. Alleles are different versions of the same gene and can result in variations of the same trait. The combination of alleles inherited from each parent determines the traits that are expressed in the offspring. Question 22. What is the difference between a prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell, and how do their structures and functions differ? A. Prokaryotic cells have a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotic cells do not. B. Prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotic cells do. C. Prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells have the same structure and function. D. Prokaryotic cells have a nucleus, while eukaryotic cells do not. The correct answer is B. Prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotic cells do. Prokaryotic cells are typically smaller and simpler in structure than eukaryotic cells, lacking a nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Eukaryotic cells, on the other hand, have a nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles that perform specialized functions. Eukaryotic cells are typically larger and more complex than prokaryotic cells. Question 23. What is the process of respiration, and how do different organs in the respiratory system work together to exchange gases? A. Respiration is the process of converting food into energy, and the respiratory system has no role in this process. B. Respiration is the process of exchanging gases between the body and the environment, and the respiratory system includes the lungs, trachea, and bronchi. C. Respiration is the process of producing oxygen in the body, and the respiratory system includes the heart and blood vessels. D. Respiration is the process of removing carbon dioxide from the body, and the respiratory system includes the digestive system. The correct answer is B. Respiration is the process of exchanging gases between the body and the environment, and the respiratory system includes the lungs, trachea, and bronchi. During respiration, oxygen is taken in through the respiratory system and transported into the body's cells, where it is used to produce energy. Carbon dioxide, a waste product of this process, is then released through the respiratory system. Question 24. What is the difference between an autotroph and a heterotroph, and how do they obtain energy? A. Autotrophs and heterotrophs are the same thing. B. Autotrophs obtain energy from other organisms, while heterotrophs produce their own energy through photosynthesis. C. Autotrophs produce their own energy through photosynthesis, while heterotrophs obtain energy from other organisms. D. Autotrophs and heterotrophs obtain energy through the same process. The correct answer is C. Autotrophs produce their own energy through photosynthesis, while heterotrophs obtain energy from other organisms. Autotrophs, such as plants, use energy from the sun to produce their own food through photosynthesis. Heterotrophs, such as animals, obtain their energy by consuming other organisms or their byproducts. Question 25. What is the process of evaporation, and how does it contribute to the water cycle and weather patterns? A. Evaporation is the process of water moving through soil and rocks, and it has no impact on weather patterns. B. Evaporation is the process of water changing from a solid to a gas, and it contributes to the formation of clouds. C. Evaporation is the process of water changing from a gas to a liquid, and it contributes to the formation of rain. D. Evaporation is the process of water changing from a liquid to a gas, and it contributes to the water cycle and weather patterns. The correct answer is D. Evaporation is the process of water changing from a liquid to a gas, and it contributes to the water cycle and weather patterns. Evaporation is an important part of the water cycle, as it allows water to enter the atmosphere and contribute to the formation of clouds. When the water vapor in the atmosphere condenses, it can lead to the formation of precipitation, such as rain or snow. Evaporation also plays a role in regulating temperature, as it can help to cool surfaces that are exposed to sunlight. Question 26. What is the difference between a habitat and a niche, and how do they relate to the ecological roles of organisms in the community? A habitat refers to the role an organism plays in its environment, while a niche refers to the physical location where the organism lives. B. A habitat refers to the physical location where an organism lives, while a niche refers to the role an organism plays in its environment. C. Habitat and niche are interchangeable terms that refer to the same thing. D. Habitat and niche are both used to describe the reproductive strategies of organisms in a community. The correct answer is B. A habitat refers to the physical location where an organism lives, while a niche refers to the role an organism plays in its environment. An organism's habitat refers to the physical environment where it lives, while its niche describes the specific ecological role it plays within that environment, including its interactions with other species. Question 27. What is the difference between an exothermic reaction and an endothermic reaction, and how do they differ in terms of energy transfer? A. Exothermic reactions release energy into their surroundings, while endothermic reactions absorb energy from their surroundings. B. Exothermic reactions absorb energy from their surroundings, while endothermic reactions release energy into their surroundings. C. Exothermic and endothermic reactions both release energy into their surroundings. D. Exothermic and endothermic reactions both absorb energy from their surroundings. The correct answer is A. Exothermic reactions release energy into their surroundings, while endothermic reactions absorb energy from their surroundings. In an exothermic reaction, energy is released in the form of heat or light, while in an endothermic reaction, energy is absorbed from the surroundings. This difference in energy transfer is an important factor in determining the conditions under which a reaction will occur. Question 28. What is the difference between a parasite and a host, and how do they interact in a biological system? A. Parasites are organisms that benefit from their interactions with other organisms, while hosts are organisms that are harmed by these interactions. B. Parasites are organisms that live on or in other organisms, known as hosts, and benefit from their interactions with the host. C. Hosts are organisms that live on or in other organisms, known as parasites, and benefit from their interactions with the parasite. D. Parasites and hosts are the same thing. The correct answer is B. Parasites are organisms that live on or in other organisms, known as hosts, and benefit from their interactions with the host. Parasites obtain resources from their hosts, often at the expense of the host's health or survival. In some cases, the interaction between a parasite and its host can be mutually beneficial, such as in the case of symbiotic relationships. Question 29. What is the process of fermentation, and how does it enable organisms to generate energy in the absence of oxygen? A. Fermentation is a process that generates energy by consuming oxygen. B. Fermentation is a process that generates energy by producing oxygen. C. Fermentation is a process that generates energy in the absence of oxygen by converting sugar into other molecules. D. Fermentation is a process that generates energy in the presence of oxygen by converting sugar into other molecules. The correct answer is C. Fermentation is a process that generates energy in the absence of oxygen by converting sugar into other molecules. Fermentation allows cells to generate energy in the absence of oxygen by using alternative pathways to break down glucose. This process is important for organisms that live in environments with low oxygen levels, such as yeast, bacteria, and some muscle cells in animals. Question 30. What is the difference between a physical property and a chemical property, and how do they relate to the behavior of matter? A. Physical properties describe the behavior of matter in chemical reactions, while chemical properties describe the appearance of matter. B. Physical properties describe the appearance of matter, while chemical properties describe the behavior of matter in chemical reactions. C. Physical and chemical properties are the same thing. D. Physical properties describe the behavior of matter in nuclear reactions, while chemical properties describe the behavior of matter in chemical reactions. The correct answer is B. Physical properties describe the appearance of matter, while chemical properties describe the behavior of matter in chemical reactions. Physical properties are characteristics of matter that can be observed or measured without changing the identity of the structure, such as color, texture, and melting point. Chemical properties, on the other hand, describe how a substance interacts with other substances to form new substances, such as flammability or reactivity with acids. Question 31. What is the difference between a renewable and non-renewable energy source, and how do they impact the environment? A. Renewable energy sources are sources that can be depleted, while non-renewable energy sources are sources that can be replenished. B. Renewable energy sources are sources that can be replenished, while non-renewable energy sources are sources that cannot be replenished. C. Renewable and non-renewable energy sources are the same thing. D. Renewable energy sources are sources that release harmful emissions, while non-renewable energy sources are sources that are clean. The correct answer is B. Renewable energy sources are sources that can be replenished, while non-renewable energy sources are sources that cannot be replenished. Renewable energy sources include solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal, and biomass, while non-renewable energy sources include fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas. The use of non-renewable energy sources contributes to air and water pollution and climate change, while renewable energy sources have a lower impact on the environment. Question 32. What is the difference between a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic organism, and how does their cellular structure differ? A. Prokaryotes are multicellular organisms, while eukaryotes are unicellular. B. Prokaryotes lack a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotes have both. C. Prokaryotes have a more complex cellular structure than eukaryotes. D. Prokaryotes are larger in size than eukaryotes. The correct answer is B. Prokaryotes lack a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, while eukaryotes have both. The main difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells is the presence of a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles in eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are smaller and simpler, lacking a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus that contains the genetic material and many different membrane-bound organelles that carry out specific functions within the cell. Question 33. What is the process of diffusion, and how does it allow particles to move from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration? A. Diffusion is the movement of particles from areas of low concentration to areas of high concentration. B. Diffusion is the movement of particles from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. C. Diffusion is the movement of particles from areas of low temperature to areas of high temperature. D. Diffusion is the movement of particles from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. The correct answer is D. Diffusion is the movement of particles from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. This process occurs due to the natural tendency of particles to move from areas of high energy to areas of low energy in order to reach a state of equilibrium. Diffusion plays an important role in many biological processes, such as the exchange of gases in the lungs, the uptake of nutrients by cells, and the elimination of waste products from cells. Question 34. What is the difference between a dominant and recessive trait, and how do they determine the inheritance of traits in offspring? A. Dominant traits are always expressed in offspring, while recessive traits are never expressed. B. Dominant traits are expressed only in males, while recessive traits are expressed only in females. C. Dominant traits mask the expression of recessive traits, while recessive traits are only expressed in the absence of dominant traits. D. Dominant traits are caused by the presence of two recessive alleles, while recessive traits are caused by the presence of two dominant alleles. The correct answer is C. Dominant traits mask the expression of recessive traits, while recessive traits are only expressed in the absence of dominant traits. Dominant traits are expressed when an individual carries at least one dominant allele, while recessive traits are only expressed when an individual carries two recessive alleles. Inheritance of traits in offspring depends on the specific combination of alleles inherited from both parents. Question 35. What is the difference between a chemical reaction and a physical change, and how can you tell the difference between them? A. A chemical reaction involves the formation of new substances, while a physical change does not. B. A physical change involves the breaking of chemical bonds, while the chemical reaction does not. C. A chemical reaction involves a change in the temperature of the system, while a physical change does not. D. A physical change involves a change in the chemical composition of the substance, while a chemical reaction does not. The correct answer is A. A chemical reaction involves the formation of new substances, while a physical change does not. Physical changes are changes that do not involve a change in the chemical composition of the substance, while chemical reactions involve the formation of new substances with different chemical properties. You can differentiate between them by observing whether the change results in a new substance with different properties or not. Question 36. What is the difference between an acid and a base, and how do they react with each other? A. Acids have a sour taste, while bases have a bitter taste. B. Acids have a pH less than 7, while bases have a pH greater than 7. C. Acids and bases both have a pH of 7. D. Acids and bases react to each other to form a neutral solution. The correct answer is B. Acids have a pH less than 7, while bases have a pH greater than 7. Acids and bases are two types of chemical substances that differ in their properties and behavior. Acids have a pH less than 7 and are typically sour in taste, while bases have a pH greater than 7 and are often bitter in taste. When an acid and a base are mixed, they can react to form water and a salt, resulting in a neutral solution with a pH of 7. Question 37. What is the difference between a molecule and a compound, and how are they related to the behavior of matter? A. Molecules are made up of two or more different elements, while compounds are made up of only one element. A. Molecules are made up of two or more different elements, while compounds are made up of only one element. B. Molecules are formed through chemical reactions, while compounds are not. C. Molecules are the smallest unit of a compound, while compounds are made up of many molecules. D. Molecules are the building blocks of compounds, and compounds are made up of two or more different atoms. The correct answer is D. Molecules are the building blocks of compounds, and compounds are made up of two or more different atoms. A molecule is a group of two or more atoms held together by chemical bonds, while a compound is a substance made up of two or more different elements that are chemically combined. Molecules can be the building blocks of compounds, as compounds are made up of two or more different atoms that are held together by chemical bonds. The behavior of matter is related to the properties of molecules and compounds, as different types of molecules and compounds can have different physical and chemical properties. Question 38. What is the difference between a genotype and a phenotype, and how do they determine the traits of an organism? A. A genotype is the physical expression of a trait, while the phenotype is the genetic makeup of an organism. B. A genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism, while the phenotype is the physical expression of a trait. C. A genotype is determined by the environment, while a phenotype is determined by the genes. D. A genotype is determined by the genes, while a phenotype is determined by the environment. The correct answer is B. A genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism, while a phenotype is the physical expression of a trait. The genotype determines the genetic information that an organism inherits from its parents, while the phenotype reflects how the genetic information is expressed through physical traits and characteristics, which can be influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. Question 39. What is the process of photosynthesis, and how do plants convert light energy into chemical energy? A. Photosynthesis is the process of breaking down organic molecules into energy for the cell. B. Plants convert light energy into heat energy through photosynthesis. C. Photosynthesis is the process of converting light energy into chemical energy in the form of glucose. D. Photosynthesis is the process that occurs only at night in plants. The correct answer is C. Photosynthesis is the process of converting light energy into chemical energy in the form of glucose. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants and other organisms convert light energy into chemical energy in the form of glucose. This process involves the absorption of light by chlorophyll pigments in the plant cell, which are then used to power a series of chemical reactions that convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. Question 40. What is the difference between an ionic bond and a covalent bond, and how do they form between atoms? A. Ionic bonds involve the sharing of electrons between atoms, while covalent bonds involve the transfer of electrons. B. Ionic bonds are formed between nonmetallic atoms, while covalent bonds are formed between metallic atoms. C. Ionic bonds are stronger than covalent bonds due to the sharing of electrons. D. Ionic bonds are formed through the attraction of opposite charges, while covalent bonds are formed through the sharing of electrons. The correct answer is D. Ionic bonds are formed through the attraction of opposite charges, while covalent bonds are formed through the sharing of electrons. An ionic bond is formed when one or more electrons are transferred from one atom to another, resulting in two ions with opposite charges that are attracted to each other. A covalent bond, on the other hand, is formed when two atoms share one or more pairs of electrons in order to achieve a stable electron configuration. Ionic bonds are typically stronger than covalent bonds due to the electrostatic attraction between the two ions, but covalent bonds can be quite strong as well.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Check out these videos that can help you study for your ASVAB test. If you need more help beyond these videos, we have free practice tests on our website. We have all the links down in the description below. Don't forget to boot that like button and subscribe to our channel.